Officer, I'm showing you a transcript from that day. I asked you under oath, do you know if Mr. Thomas knew what you were asking? And you responded, I don't know.
That's correct.
Not what you told the jury today, though, right?
Yes.
That video that the prosecution played, they just by choice decided to cut parts of the video out. Officer, I'm showing you a transcript from that day. That day, when the jury wasn't here, I asked you under oath, quote, do you know if Mr. Thomas knew what you were asking when you said, will you do voluntary roadside maneuvers? And you responded, quote, I don't know. Correct?
That's correct.
Not what you told the jury today, though, right?
Yes.
All right, let's get into it then. You were dispatched to a traffic accident, correct?
Yes.
About 7:45 in the morning?
Yes.
Accident happened probably around sometime 7:40?
Correct.
Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit about the accident. Basically, it was a rear ending on a busier street, correct?
Yes.
Both cars then pulled off onto a side street,
That's correct.
then called the police.
Yes.
Everybody involved then stayed there and waited for the police.
Correct.
Nobody involved tried to drive off or get away, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree if a driver can't properly pull off the road after an accident, that can be a sign of impairment, correct?
Could be, yes.
There was nothing odd about how Mr. Thomas had pulled over, correct?
No.
There was nothing about how his car was positioned that you found suspicious.
No.
Nothing about the way he'd pulled over off the road or parked that would have indicated he was impaired, correct?
No.
All right, so you can see Mr. Thomas's car there, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas's car was parked parallel to the sidewalk, right?
Yes.
Which would be normally how a person should pull over, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then you can see the other vehicle pulled off in front of him, right?
Correct.
And that man in the blue shirt, he was one of the people in that vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And then you can kind of see him, but over in the corner, you can see kind of the corner of an orange shirt. That was the other passenger in the truck up front, correct?
Correct.
All right, on your direct examination, you claimed Mr. Thomas had unsteady balance, correct?
Correct.
When you arrived, Mr. Thomas was standing outside his car, right?
Yes.
And we actually saw the video of that, correct?
Yes.
And he was standing on his own 2 feet, right?
Yes.
He was standing in the street.
Yes.
He wasn't leaning on his car for support.
Yes.
He was able to stand on his own.
Yes.
Didn't have his arms out for balance.
Correct.
Didn't need to sit down.
Correct.
In that video where you were standing there talking to him, he's not swaying back and forth, anything like that, right?
Correct.
He's not stumbling.
Correct.
You'd agree in the videos that the jury's watched, his balance was not unsteady, right?
In those videos, no.
Okay. And you'd agree that the whole time you were with him, he never fell down or anything, right?
After the arrest, he did almost fall.
Okay. So your testimony is that after the arrest, he almost fell?
Correct.
Okay. All right, officer, once again, you previously testified, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Same thing, everybody else was here, only people who weren't were the jury, right?
Yes.
All right, officer, I said, so you think he had a couple stumbles? You said yes. I said, what do you mean by stumble? You said losing balance. I said, did he fall down? You said no. I said, okay, did he almost fall down? You said no. I said, did you have to catch him? You said no. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, officer, when the DA handed you those discs on direct examination, those had your body-worn camera on them, right?
Yes.
And I'm assuming you had a chance. When did you, you said you had watched them before they were played just now. When did you watch them?
This morning.
Okay, so you had a chance to watch them this morning?
Yes.
Okay. You also had an opportunity to watch your whole body-worn camera before trial, right?
This morning, yes.
Okay, so you've had the opportunity to watch your entire body-worn camera, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And your body-worn camera was on the whole time, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you've got the ability to contact the district attorney's office, right?
Yes.
Got the ability to contact the prosecutor assigned to the case, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if there was somewhere else in your body-worn camera where Mr. Thomas was stumbling around, you could have reached out to the district attorney and let him know, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You could have told him to show that to the jury today, right?
Yes.
You never did that though, correct?
Nope.
When they showed you the videos, you never said, hey, this is actually the part where he's got bad balance, right?
Correct.
All right, you also mentioned on direct examination that Mr. Thomas had bloodshot watery eyes, right?
Yes.
All right, so that's Mr. Thomas's vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, and you can see that the airbag went off, correct?
Yes.
Specifically the airbag in the steering wheel?
Yes.
Okay, have you ever been in a car when the airbags go off?
Yes.
Quite a shock, right?
Could be.
But was it shocking when the airbags went off when you were in a car?
I suppose, yeah.
Okay, I mean, powder comes out, right?
Yes.
Okay, but I mean, a loud bang,
Yes.
right? There's some fumes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You told the jury, when you arrived, Mr. Thomas had bloodshot watery eyes, right?
Yes.
So that would have been about 5 or so minutes after an airbag went off in his face?
I'd have to look at my exact arrival time, but somewhere in that range.
I mean, call it 10. It would have been 10 minutes after airbag went off in his face.
Yes.
Okay. Had you ever seen Mr. Thomas before this?
No.
You ever see Mr. Thomas after this?
No.
Only time you've ever seen Mr. Thomas's eyes were right after he got into an accident that set the airbag off in his face?
Yes.
And you'd also agree with me that his eyes weren't so bloodshot and watery that you could see it on your body-worn camera, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You did take pictures that day, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. You never took any pictures of his eyes or anything like that, right?
No.
All right, I'm going to talk about the odor of alcohol you said you smelled. When you arrived and spoke to Mr. Thomas, you didn't smell any odor of alcohol, correct?
Correct.
You only smelled the odor of alcohol apparently later, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you smelled the odor of alcohol when he was near the door jamb of his car, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that was in that video we watched, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You'd agree, you and Mr. Thomas were just both still outside, right?
Correct.
And the reason you gave the jury as to why you couldn't smell it at first was that you were outside, right?
I said I was in an open area.
Okay. Well, you'd agree that standing outside his car, also an open area, right?
It's a little more close to his door and the door jam being blocking and pushing wind towards me.
Got it. The passenger did not say that they smelled alcohol on Mr. Thomas.
Correct.
The driver did not say they thought Mr. Thomas was intoxicated.
Correct.
The passenger did not say they thought Mr. Thomas was intoxicated.
Correct.
And when you got there, the driver, passenger, and Mr. Thomas, they were all waiting outside together, right?
Yes.
All right, and you did ask Mr. Thomas if he'd had anything to drink recently, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Thomas said he drank with his brother the night before?
Yes.
Split a six-pack with him?
Yes.
All right, that'd probably, well, if you split it evenly, that'd be 3 beers, correct?
Correct.
You never specifically asked how many beers out of the six-pack he had?
Correct.
But fair to assume probably somewhere around 3.
Correct.
Then he said he'd stopped drinking at about 2 a.m.?
Yes.
Accident took place at around 7:40 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay, and he said he slept at his brother's, right?
Yes.
So that would mean the accident took place about 5 hours and 40 minutes after Mr. Thomas drank his last beer, correct?
Correct.
You also told the jury that Mr. Thomas had slurred speech?
Yes.
Again, when you first spoke to Mr. Thomas, you didn't think his speech was slurred, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you'd agree Mr. Thomas has a pretty thick accent, right?
Yes.
Because he's Micronesian?
Yes.
On the day this happened, you did not know where Micronesia was.
Correct.
You had never met a Micronesian person before.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas was the first Micronesian person you'd met.
Yes.
You'd never heard a Micronesian accent before that day.
Correct.
You don't know the difference between a slurred Micronesian accent and a normal Micronesian accent.
Correct.
You don't have any training on recognizing accents or how that could change a person's voice.
Correct.
You don't know what Mr. Thomas's voice sounds like on a day-to-day basis.
Correct.
Now, on direct examination, you said that Mr. Thomas refused to participate in roadside maneuvers, correct?
Yes.
All right. Officer, you would agree this is the portion of your body-worn camera where you're asking Mr. Thomas to do voluntary roadside maneuvers?
Yes.
Fair and accurate depiction of that interaction?
Yes.
Officer, Your Honor, I would now ask to admit and publish Defense Exhibit C to the jury.
No objection, Your Honor.
Defense of C is admitted. You may publish.
Today, would you be willing to do voluntary roadside maneuvers? Do you know what voluntary means? No? What voluntary means is that you can do them if you want, but you don't have to do them. I want to know if you want to do them. Don't want to do them? Okay.
All right, so by the point in the video we just watched, by that point in time, you'd learned Mr. Thomas was Micronesian, correct?
Yes.
That his native language was Micronesian?
Yes.
That he only understood English a little bit?
Yes.
You referred to roadsides as, quote, voluntary roadside maneuvers?
Correct.
All right, and he didn't know what voluntary meant?
Correct.
You explained to him what voluntary meant?
Yes.
You explained the meaning of the word in English?
Yes.
Okay. Which by then you knew he only spoke a little bit, right?
Correct.
Okay. You never explained to Mr. Thomas what the word maneuver meant?
Correct.
Don't know if he knows what the word maneuver means?
Correct.
Don't know if Mr. Thomas knew what you were asking when you said, will you do voluntary roadside maneuvers?
Yes.
All right, we have a Chuckese interpreter here. You'd agree that if they explained to you in Chuckese what the Chuckese word for voluntary meant, you probably wouldn't know what they were saying.
Well, I don't speak any of that language, and he does speak decent bits of English.
Okay. You
It's
wouldn't
not
understand
exactly
Chuckese.
the same.
Not saying it is, but you wouldn't understand Chuckese, right?
Correct.
After Mr. Thomas didn't do roadside, you arrested him, right?
Yes.
You put him in the back of your squad car?
Yes.
You invoked Colorado Express consent, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When you invoke Colorado Express consent, what you specifically tell a person is by driving in the state of Colorado, you've already given consent to a chemical test of your blood or breath. Which do you choose, blood or breath, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Didn't ask Mr. Thomas if he knew what the word consent meant?
Correct.
Didn't explain what the word meant?
Correct.
So you agree that you don't know if Mr. Thomas knew what really most of the bigger words you were saying meant, correct?
Yes.
So as a police officer, you've got access to a service called the language line, right?
Yes.
And they have interpreters in all different languages, right?
Yes.
To use this service, all you have to do is call, right?
Yes.
And you tell them the language that you need,
Yes.
and they connect you to an interpreter.
Correct.
You had your cell phone with you, correct?
Correct.
That's what you use to contact the language line, correct?
Yes.
You'd been trained on how to contact the language line.
Yes.
It's actually your department policy to contact the language line.
I'm not 100% certain that it's mandatory that we contact language line.
Okay. You don't think your police department, which contracts with an interpreter service, has a policy where if you find out somebody doesn't speak English very well, you contact an interpreter?
I don't have an exact certain knowledge of a specific policy that mandates that we call a language line.
Okay. You're capable of calling a language line though, right?
Yes.
You'd been trained on how to contact a language line, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think they trained you on how to contact a language line if they didn't want you to do that?
No.
Okay. Throughout your entire interaction with Mr. Thomas, You never even tried to call the language line.
Correct.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Officer Abdullah, on the scene, that was about a 30-minute conversation with the defendant you had there on your camera. Why did you believe that the defendant understood the conversations?
Throughout the entire conversation, he was answering within context and correctly within context through the entire conversation.
Did you guys ever ask him for his insurance?
Yes,
Was he able to get that?
eventually, yes.
Would you be able to do that with someone that didn't speak any English?
No,
So during this conversation, you didn't feel the need to get this language line on the line because you were already having a conversation with him. He was responsive, he was answering.
that's correct.
Leading.
Stay.
Now you watched your body worn camera before today, correct?
Yes,
But you didn't watch before the motion hearing.
correct.
And this incident occurred on July 1st, 2025,
Yes,
and you did attend the motion hearing on May 27th, 2026.
yes, I did.
So for the 10 months between when the incident occurred and the motion hearing, you didn't watch any of your video,
That's correct.
but you did watch it this morning.
Yes, I did.
Did that help you better understand what happened?
Yes,
Better understand how you described the standardized field sobriety tests?
yes,
Better understand that the defendant understood what you were saying?
yes.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, officer.
Thank you.
People's next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The people call Officer Wade Weddle to the stand.
Good afternoon, officer. Do you solemnly swear or affirm on the penalty of perjury that the testimony about to give to this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you, sir. If you do me a favor and just please speak into the microphone, okay? Thank you.
Could you please just quickly spell your name, say your name for the record and spell your last name?
Wade Weddell, W-E-D-E-L.
Now, how long have you been a police officer with the Commerce City Police Department?
9 years.
9 years. What are your current duties?
Right now, I'm a MPO, which is Master Police Officer. It's in between officer and sergeant, kind of like a corporal. I'm an FTO, which is a field training officer. I'm an FTO instructor.
Were you on duty the morning of July 1st, 2025?
Yes, sir.
And what were your duties that day?
I was acting as a field training officer for a lateral officer that we hired, Officer Abdullah.
Okay. And what happened that morning?
That morning, we were dispatched to a automobile crash.
And what did you do when you arrived?
I acted as a field training officer, observing Officer Abdullah, conducting his duties and helping him out in small ways where I wasn't interfering.
Did you notice anything about the windshield?
Yes, I did.
What did you observe about the windshield?
So I observed a spotty little crack on the windshield that looked like Mr. Thomas might have hit his head during the incident, which would explain, kind of what I was seeing. I wanted to make sure he was okay. So I asked to see his head. I asked him to remove his hat and asked him if he hit his head. He informed me, he was wearing a seatbelt and the windshield cracked because there was some pieces of metal in the truck that he ran into that hit the windshield, and that was not from his head.
Now, Mr. Weddle, this is just a very short clip, but I want you to pay attention to his body and tell me what you observed. Can we have the lights, please, Your Honor? What have you just watched?
So that would be the defendant, Mr. Thomas, having trouble with the balance like I was talking about. There were several moments where he was taking that step back, happened to catch himself with his other foot so he didn't fall over.
Is that the only time you saw him stumble?
No.
While observing Mr. Thomas and Officer Abdullah communicate, they seem to be understanding each other.
Yes.
Overruled.
You can go ahead and answer that, officer.
Yes, they did.
Did you guys think to get an interpreter on the scene?
I mean, initially we had the thought, but usually we judge that based on how well we communicate with the people on scene, and it wasn't necessary in this case.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
So your observations of Mr. Thomas began after you arrived at the crash scene, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you testified on direct examination that Mr. Thomas was slightly unsteady on his feet.
Correct.
Okay. And these observations were made obviously while you're at the scene of a crash, right?
Yes.
You arrived very shortly after the accident.
Correct.
And at that point, you knew you were dealing with someone who had just been involved in a collision, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you were supervising Officer Abdullah at the time. Is that correct?
I was training him, but yes.
Okay, you were training him. And Officer Abdullah, as part of that training, took on the role in this situation as the primary investigating officer while you observed, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so your involvement here was really just as the supervising officer. Is that fair to say?
For the most part, but not solely.
And on this date, you actually didn't know whether Micronesia was a country or a state, correct?
Correct.
Or where Micronesia is?
Correct.
Okay. And you testified on direct examination also about Mr. Thomas potentially hitting his head, correct?
Correct.
If he hit his head, that would have explained what you were seeing in terms of indicia, correct?
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that the airbag went off in his face?
I honestly don't recall.
Okay. You don't recall whether or not the airbag was deployed?
I do not, no, ma'am.
Okay. At no point was Mr. Thomas asked whether he wanted or needed an interpreter, correct?
I don't recall.
Okay. You did not ask him whether he understood everything that was being said?
I don't recall every question I asked him, I'm sorry.
You did not determine, though, how well he could understand spoken English before relying on his answers and responses, correct? I can rephrase that if
Please.
Yeah. You did not conduct any formal assessment of his English language comprehension, correct?
No.
You didn't ask him to explain in his own words what questions had just been asked of him?
No.
You didn't ask him whether he understood the difference between the documents you were asking him to locate?
No.
And this has already been established, but as you and Officer Abdullah exclusively communicated with him in English?
Correct.
Okay. The difficulty you observed was primarily in locating the insurance documents.
Correct.
You testified he went through the stack multiple times, correct?
Correct.
5 or 6, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And he attempted to hand you the emissions test twice.
Correct.
And you had to ask him again for what you needed, right?
Multiple times.
Okay. Is it fair to say he was confused about what document you were asking him for?
I have no way of knowing that.
Okay, that's fair. At no point was Mr. Thomas ever falling over, correct?
No, that's not true. There were a few times where I reached to get him because he seemed like he was going to need that. So I guess that means I don't know what you mean by falling over. Did he fall down?
Sure. Did he fall down?
No.
And at this point, you didn't know whether he had any physical condition or injury resulting from the crash that could have affected his balance, correct?
Correct.
So you testified also that you observed an odor of alcohol, correct?
Correct.
So while you're outside in the open air, though, to be clear, you did not at that point smell any odor of alcohol on Mr. Thomas, correct?
Correct.
Or in the vehicle, correct?
In his vehicle?
Yes.
Correct.
And you were standing near him, right?
Correct.
You were close enough to observe him.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas. And at that time, you detected no odor of an alcoholic beverage.
Correct.
The first time you smelled an alcoholic beverage was after he had already been placed in handcuffs and arrested, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that's after he had been placed in the backseat of the patrol car?
Correct.
And at that point, you got a little bit of a whiff of alcohol, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you'd agree with me that an odor of alcohol can't tell you how much alcohol a person has had to drink, correct?
Correct.
An odor of alcohol alone cannot tell you what kind of alcohol the person drank,
Correct.
or how long ago a person drank.
Correct.
You cannot accurately detect alcohol impairment from the odor of alcohol alone, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I don't have anything else, thank you.
I wanted to address the video we just watched. When we observed the video, Mr. Thomas was in the far right corner, right? Were you walking away from him?
Yes.
And where are your body-worn cameras on your uniforms?
Mine sits right here over my chest on my right side.
You can still turn your head and see what's going on?
Yes, sir.
So then, you probably saw him stumble, but it's not always on the camera. Unless you're facing the person or the defendant.
Correct.
And during your entire encounter, did he ever ask you that he needed an interpreter?
Not that I recall.
He never requested, I need an interpreter, I don't understand?
I don't recall him asking that.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, officer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses from the prosecution?
No more witnesses from the prosecution, Your Honor. The people rest.
As the court knows, the officers here did not extend the fundamental and basic decency of speaking with and investigating Mr. Thomas in the language he speaks. Officer Abdullah testified and had to be impeached multiple times because he was dishonest while under oath. Officer Waddell did not even smell alcohol until after Mr. Thomas was arrested. As to the allegation of poor balance, in the video, the court could see Mr. Thomas steps back slightly. That is the worst of the worst that the people could show of Mr. Thomas's alleged poor balance. Mr. Thomas's speech is not slurred. His eyes are not bloodshot and watery. Both officers testified that they do not speak Chicese. This was a language barrier, not intoxication or impairment.
He did not believe, Officer Waddell did not believe that an interpreter was necessary based on the communication that he and Officer Abdullah had with the defendant. Here, in viewing this evidence in the light most favorable to the prosecution, the court does find that there is substantial and sufficient evidence to support a conclusion by a reasonable mind that the defendant is guilty of both driving under the influence and careless driving. Accordingly, the defendant's judgment of acquittal is denied.
County, I don't know if she means to change defendant everywhere in the jury instructions to Mr. Thomas or not.
Yes, that's our request.
We don't normally do that. It seems like kind of tedious to have to go through and change it every single one.
It takes me like 5 seconds to do, and it's defense's position that that humanizes Mr. Thomas.
I wouldn't necessarily describe it as tedious. Certainly not my favorite thing, but I also don't have a problem with it. That's what the defense wants. That's fine.
I don't think we need the redactions instruction.
You don't need what instruction?
The redactions instruction, given that nothing was muted.
Videos were redacted, Your Honor.
Because I get that they are redactions being shown, but sometimes it could be confusing if nothing was actually muted or altered.
Hold on. Relax.
Okay, yes, Your Honor.
I understand the defense's position, but I do agree that although nothing was muted, I mean, you can tell in the video that it goes from one spot to another. So it does appear to me that it was redacted.
The redaction instruction is meant to be given if the court rules that information has to be redacted or the parties agree that information has to be redacted. The jury's not allowed to make inferences from that, and that's correct. That video that the prosecution played, we didn't ask them to redact. They just, by choice, decided to cut parts of the video out. And that would be an improper instruction to give when that's the circumstance, because the jury has every right to draw inferences from the fact that the prosecution, by choice, cut out portions of the video.
Mr. Rockrise?
Then, Your Honor, we did splice two videos out of two larger videos and put them together into one video. We believe that's a redaction, but we do let the court decide.
It's actually the first
We
time
just
I've
take
heard that argument from the defense, but I agree with it. The court did not make any orders as to relates to the evidence presented here or any redaction. So, and I don't believe the parties there was no agreement, at least based on the representation made to the court. So I understand why the defense would not want this instruction since it is not accurate. So the court will remove that instruction.
Now let's look at the facts we have. The defendant consumed multiple beers before driving. The defendant said he drank at 6 o'clock, or 6 hours before, that he wasn't impaired. If that were true, then why didn't he prove it? Why didn't he take a test? He knew he wasn't impaired. He knew he had drinking only a few beers. He knew it had been at 2 a.m. in the morning 6 hours ago. Why would he not take that test? We had talked about how the defense had mentioned how Officer Abdullah didn't capture any of that on his body-worn camera. I showed you a small clip from Officer Waddell. Now, when you can see him misstepping in the side of his camera, that's because Officer Waddell is not facing him. Their cameras are on the front. If I'm talking to another driver, I look over and I see you, you're not going to be on my camera. Just want you to know, it doesn't mean that he didn't see it. It just means that it's not on camera. I want you to remember that testimony is evidence, and these officers are credible. Odor of an alcoholic beverage. I wish you could smell alcohol through the cameras, but you can't. But both officers said that they observed the odor of an alcoholic beverage. Faint or strong, it was there. 6 hours later. Bloodshot, watery eyes. We heard both officers testify to that. We heard no evidence today that the defendant was tired. No evidence that he had smoked. No reason for these red eyes. Only the officer's observations that the defendant admitted to drinking, had the odor of alcohol, and had red bloodshot eyes. When you put those together, it makes sense. The picture comes together. This is not a mere, I just bumped into you. This defendant could not control his speed. He was not paying attention, not looking. Maybe he was on his phone. We don't know. But we do know that is careless driving. And lastly, you refused to give a blood or breath test that would only show the truth of what was or was not in his system. And I told you at the beginning that this is what this trial was going to be about. Why did he refuse? Why? Because he knew that it would show that he was impaired. He had the opportunity to prove that he drank 6 hours ago. He had the opportunity to prove that he only had a couple beers.
Objection, Mr. Thomas doesn't have to prove anything.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, obviously this is just the argument. As I told you, the prosecution only has the burden of proof in this case. The burden never shifts to the defendant. But
the defendant was able to prove to the officers on that date what was in his blood or breath at that
Mr.
time.
Thomas doesn't have to prove anything.
Your Honor, we're allowed to.
again, ladies and gentlemen, this is argument. Counsel approach.
Breath and blood tests. Again, he had the opportunity to take this test. Why didn't he take this test? Because he knew he was impaired. And then when the officer searched the vehicle, he found an empty Heineken beer in the back seat of the car, tucked away behind the driver's seat. Failed to yield to a car in front of him. You can watch the video. He said he did not even see the light. Now, I don't know what he was doing, but he clearly wasn't paying attention if he couldn't see the light at an approaching intersection, let alone the car that he rear-ended. Ladies and gentlemen, this is careless driving. That is why we are asking you to return a verdict in this case for guilty for driving under the influence and careless driving. Thank you.
Fact of the matter is, Mr. Thomas is not guilty. Now, it's true that a language barrier doesn't make a DUI, and I'll get to that later. But looking at the evidence, in the case, the evidence shows on its own, standing on its own, that Mr. Thomas is not guilty, that Mr. Thomas was not drunk that day, that Mr. Thomas was not impaired even to the slightest degree. Because what happened last July wasn't a crime. What happened last July is that Mr. Thomas went over to his brother's house at night and they split a six-pack of beers. They stopped drinking about 2 a.m, okay? Mr. Thomas said he slept over there, so he finishes drinking, he goes to sleep, wakes up in the morning, starts to drive back home, gets into an accident, rear ends another car. Now that's an accident, that's a mistake, but that's not drunk driving. The fact that Mr. Thomas got in an accident on the way home, the prosecution is talking about that that's evidence of DUI, right? They're saying that's evidence of DUI. In the prosecution's ending statement he just gave to you, the prosecution admitted, he said, I don't know why Mr. Thomas rear-ended the car. For it to be DUI, right, the prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. If they want to use that accident as evidence of DUI, they have to have proved beyond a reasonable doubt that the rear-ending was because Mr. Thomas had drank 3 beers 5 hours earlier. That's what they have to prove. Prosecutor told you he didn't know. Could have been on his phone. Could have not been looking. A lot of things could have been going on. Wasn't the beer. And this is an important consideration because Officer Abdullah said his body-worn camera was on this whole time. And the prosecution wants to make the argument, right, that, okay, well, maybe they just turned their heads but didn't turn their bodies, right? But if they're investigating Mr. Thomas, if they're interacting with Mr. Thomas and Mr. Thomas falls down, you don't think the natural human response would be to go like that? To look over at them? Officer Waddell said that he actually had to grab Mr. Thomas multiple times. He said he went over and grabbed Mr. Thomas multiple times throughout this interaction to keep Mr. Thomas from falling down. Okay? Well, if that was true, to grab Mr. Thomas to keep him from falling down, he'd have to go over and grab Mr. Thomas to keep him from falling down, right? That's how that works. And that would then be on body-worn camera. The prosecution would have been able to show you that. The officers both said that they reviewed their body-worn camera before they came in here today, right? So if they had more to show you, if they had something to show you, they would have shown you. Your instruction says that you can consider both the evidence and the lack of evidence. There's a lack of evidence that Mr. Thomas actually had bad balance. And you shouldn't rely just on what somebody comes in here and says. First questions I asked him were, you came in, you previously testified, everybody involved in this case was here except you 6. And I asked him, did you have the opportunity to review your police report? Did you have the opportunity to review your body-worn camera? I asked him those 2 questions in relation to the motions hearing that we were talking about. And then I walk up and what he said when nobody else was here, when you 6 weren't here, what he said was the complete opposite. I apologize. What he said was the complete opposite of what he told you today. What he said when nobody else was here was that he didn't know if Mr. Thomas could understand. What he said to you today was that, yes, Mr. Thomas could understand, I knew that. I gave him the chance to go back and change, and he didn't. That's why I had to go up to him with the transcript. Same thing with Mr. Thomas falling down. He said he saw Mr. Thomas stumbling, falling down, things of that nature, right? You were at the motions hearing. You had the opportunity to review your police report before the motions hearing. Yes, I did. Had the opportunity to review your body-worn camera before the motions hearing. Yes, I did. He changed that story too, actually, when the prosecution got back up on their redirect examination. Then he changed to, no, before the motions hearing, I didn't have the opportunity to review my body-worn camera. But when I was asking him, he admitted that he did. Motions hearing, when you 6 weren't here, he said Mr. Thomas never fell down. He said Mr. Thomas never almost fell down. He said those things. And the story changed for you. And you can consider that. You should consider that. You can also consider the strength of a person's memory, okay? And so when Ms. Poland was asking the second officer, Officer Waddell, questions, for the most part, he said, I don't recall, right? Didn't recall if the airbag had gone off in the car, didn't recall all these things, right? But then when the prosecution's asking him questions, he says he remembers these very specific instances with Mr. Thomas, right? There's a distinction there, right? The answers weren't the same. They've never met a person who talks like Mr. Thomas. They've never met a person from where Mr. Thomas is. The officer admitted on the stand that he doesn't know the difference between a slurred Micronesian accent and a normal Micronesian accent, which makes sense because he's never met a Micronesian. But when Mr. Thomas is talking, doesn't seem slurred.
Mr. Groves, you have 2 minutes.
The officers were speaking to Mr. Thomas in a language he didn't understand. They were telling Mr. Thomas things they didn't know if he understood, right? And maybe 30 years ago, if the officers got up and they're like, that's what you do, you know? All right, fair enough. What else are you supposed to do? But the officers admitted that all they had to do to talk to Mr. Thomas in a language he knew was take out their cell phone, dial a number, and call the interpreter service that their department has for this specific situation. Why not do that? Why not do that? Because then they could have spoken to Mr. Thomas in a language they knew he understood. If they spoke to Mr. Thomas in a language they knew he understood, and Mr. Thomas still refuses to take the test, then sure, hold it against him. But if they speak to Mr. Thomas in a language that they admit he barely understood, and ask him to do something, and they don't know if he understood what he was being asked to do, for the prosecution, for the officers, to tell you to hold that against Mr. Thomas would be the same as standing up and saying, Mr. Thomas doesn't really speak English, and you can consider that as evidence of his guilt. It's not. But I'm not asking you to find Mr. Thomas not guilty because they didn't use an interpreter. I want to be very clear about that. That's an issue, but I want to be clear. The reason I'm asking you to find Mr. Thomas not guilty is because Mr. Thomas is not guilty. He was not intoxicated. He was not impaired. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate your time.
Why didn't the defendant ask for an interpreter? He knew he was talking to police. You don't need to speak English to know that's a police officer. Not once did he say, I do not understand, I need an interpreter. Watch the videos. Not once does he say, I don't know. He does his best to try and answer, but because of the language barrier, it makes it hard. Signs of intoxication don't change because there's a language barrier. Just because you speak Spanish doesn't mean that you're going to smell differently, talk differently with a slur, have different red bloodshot eyes. That doesn't happen. We're not here to determine whether he's a good or bad person. I don't think of him as a bad person. I'm simply asking you to hold him accountable as a community that we've decided to hold him to those laws. We're here to hold him accountable, and we're asking you to hold him accountable. Sorry. That is why we're asking you to return a verdict of guilty for driving under the influence and careless driving. Thank you.
We're back on the record on 25M3575. Johnny Thomas. I understand that we have a verdict. Party's ready for the jurors.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please be seated. All right. Mr. McSweeney, were you the foreperson?
Yes.
All right, if you don't mind giving that to Ms. Starkey. Verdict form, driving under the influence. We, the jury, find the accused, Johnny Thomas, not guilty of count number 1, driving under the influence. Verdict form, careless driving. We, the jury, find the accused, Johnny Thomas, not guilty of count number 2, careless driving. Would any of the attorneys like members of the jury polled?
How can the people, Your Honor?